Russia's Black Sea Fleet lost nearly a third of its combat assets by early 2026 and retreated 350 kilometers east to the port of Novorossiysk. The force that inflicted that damage fielded no traditional warships. That detail, more than any single battle, explains why Crimea sits at the center of this war and why the fight to control it has entered a phase nobody predicted. When Russian forces moved on the Crimean Peninsula in February 2014, the strategic logic was clear. Sevastopol housed the headquarters of Russia's Black Sea Fleet, and holding it meant controlling deep-water access to the entire southern theater. Russian President Vladimir Putin compared Crimea's importance to Jerusalem's Temple Mount, binding his political legacy directly to the peninsula. To physically seal the occupation, the Russian Navy scuttled its own Kara-class cruiser, the Ochakov, in Donuslav Bay in March 2014, blocking Ukrainian ships from leaving port. From that moment, Crimea was non-negotiable for Moscow. Ukraine's then Commander-in-Chief, Valery Zaluzhny, recognized what that meant. In September 2022, he named Crimea Russia's military focal point, the single pressure point that, if squeezed hard enough, could decide the entire southern front. Whether Ukraine could actually isolate it was the open question. What followed was one of the most unconventional naval campaigns in recent memory. Without a traditional fleet, Ukraine deployed domestically built Sea Baby and Magura unmanned surface vessels, land-launched Neptune missiles, and Western-supplied ATACMS to systematically weaken Russian naval power. Between 24 and 29 major Russian vessels were confirmed lost or seriously damaged. Russia's functional Black Sea strike force shrank to just 7 offensive warships and submarines. After a Ukrainian missile strike hit the Black Sea Fleet headquarters building in Sevastopol in September 2023, the evacuation of surviving ships accelerated until almost nothing major remained in port. If this kind of strategic breakdown holds your attention, subscribing keeps more of it coming. Most people assume Russia relies on the Kerch Strait Bridge for military supply. After the October 2022 truck bombing damaged the structure, Russia barred heavy hazardous military cargo from crossing it, including fuel tankers, ammunition, and heavy armor. That restriction never lifted, which pushed Russia's heavy logistics onto rail ferries across the strait and an overland corridor through occupied Kherson, both of which Ukraine then targeted directly. In March and April 2026, Ukrainian strikes disabled both remaining rail ferries crossing the strait. On June 19 and 20 alone, 3 vehicle-transporting ferries were put out of action in a single night. That same week, Ukrainian strikes damaged 4 S-400 air defense radar stations across Crimea, tearing open gaps in coverage over the Black Sea. Robert Brovdy, head of Ukraine's unmanned systems forces, stated it plainly, "In the near future, we will isolate Crimea." The operations advanced quickly from there. A strike on the Kerch Commercial Port oil depot on June 20 set the facility burning for days. Ukrainian forces raised their national flag on the Kinburn Spit on June 25, signaling movement on the left bank of the Dnipro River adjacent to the peninsula. President Zelensky authorized a 40-day deep strike campaign specifically targeting Crimean supply networks, and the results inside the peninsula were immediate. By June 26th, Russian-installed Governor Sergei Aksyonov declared a state of emergency, banning civilian fuel sales, cutting street lighting, and instructing residents to remain calm in front of empty gas stations. If this breakdown changed how you read the war's map, liking and subscribing is the best way to make sure the next one finds you. Zaluzhny's 2022 assessment now reads like a blueprint. Crimea's military value always rested on its ability to project power outward. Strip away the fleet, sever the bridges, and the peninsula stops being an offensive asset and becomes a garrison under siege. The Kerch Bridge still carries passenger vehicles and light rail, but the heavy military cargo that kept the war machine running is no longer getting through. Each supply link Ukraine severs narrows the window Russia has to hold what Putin once called sacred ground, and with fuel depots burning and rail lines collapsed, that window is closing faster than Moscow can repair it.